Do you ever feel like money just slips through your hands no matter how hard you try? Why does saving feel stressful, budgeting feels confusing, and financial advice never seems to stick? What if the problem isn't your income or discipline, but tiny daily habits no one talks about? In this video, I'll share 8 small simple habits that quietly build financial literacy and can completely change how you handle money. These are the rich habits and wealthy habits most people never notice. Number 1. Ask this before spending. Is this buying time or taking time? Let me ask you something first. What do you really want money for? More stuff or more time? Most people think spending is about price. It's actually not. Smart money decisions are about time, and this way of thinking shows up in many rich people habits and wealthy people habits. So before you buy anything, ask one simple question. Is this buying time, or is it taking time from my future? Sounds dramatic, right? But stay with me. Let's break down what this actually means. Some purchases give you time, others steal it. Buying time means the purchase helps you save hours, reduce stress, or create freedom. Think of things like a laptop that helps you earn money, a course that builds a skill, or even a tool that lets you work faster. These purchases don't just cost money, they give time back. Taking time is the opposite. It's stuff that forces you to work more later to pay for it. Expensive lifestyle upgrades, impulse shopping, things you buy just to feel good for 5 minutes. You enjoy them now, but your future self pays for them. Now, when should you ask this question? Every single time you're about to spend on something non-essential, before checkout, before tapping buy. That tiny pause is powerful. For example, you're thinking about buying the latest phone. Ask yourself, how is this buying me time? If it helps you work faster or create content better, maybe it's buying time. But if your current phone works fine and this is just for status, that's time theft. Who uses this habit? People who build wealth quietly. Rich people don't ask, can I afford this? They ask, what does this cost me in time? A mindset deeply rooted in the habits of wealthy people. And why does this change your life? Because money is replaceable. Time isn't. When you train your brain to protect time, your spending becomes smarter without effort. So ask this before spending. Is this buying time or taking time? One simple question, asked consistently. That's how small habits create big financial shifts. Number 2, increase income before cutting expenses. Let me ask you a real question. What's the first money advice everyone hears? Cut your expenses. Stop buying coffee. Cancel subscriptions. But why does that advice feel so exhausting and never seem to work long term? Because there's a limit to how much you can cut, but almost no limit to how much you can earn. And this shift is at the core of many rich habits. That's the mindset shift here. Increase income before cutting expenses. So, what does this actually mean in real life? It doesn't mean quitting your job or starting a huge business. It means training your brain to ask a different question every day. How can I make a little more money? Even $5, even $10. Because income growth changes how you think. Expense cutting just makes you feel restricted, while income-focused thinking reflects long-term wealthy habits. Who should follow this habit? People who feel stuck. People who budget perfectly, but still don't get ahead. People who feel like they're doing everything right, but the numbers don't move. Now, when should you focus on increasing income? Before you obsess over tiny expenses, before you stress about coffee, before you feel guilty for enjoying life. For example, instead of skipping a $4 coffee, what if you spent 20 minutes learning a skill that earns you $40 later? Suddenly, the coffee isn't the problem. Your leverage is. How does this build financial literacy? You stop seeing money as something to protect and start seeing it as something to create. You learn about skills, markets, value, and demand. That's real financial education and one of the smartest habits of millionaires. And why does this habit change your life long term? Because higher income gives you breathing room. Breathing room reduces stress. Reduced stress leads to better decisions. Better decisions compound. Cutting expenses is survival mode. Increasing income is growth mode, one of the most powerful habits of rich people. The tiny habit here is simple. Every day ask one question about earning more. That one question slowly rewires you from saving your way out to earning your way forward. And that's how people actually escape financial pressure. Number 3, never say, I can't afford it. Say it's not a priority. Let me ask you something. What do you usually say when you see something you want but don't buy? Most people say, I can't afford it. Sounds harmless, right? But why does that sentence quietly keep people broke? Because I can't afford it tells your brain you're powerless. It sounds like money controls you. Now here's the tiny habit. Replace that sentence with it's not a priority. Same result, totally different mindset. So what's the real difference? I can't afford it is about limitation. It's not a priority is about choice. One makes you feel small, the other makes you feel in control. Who should use this habit? Anyone trying to become financially literate without feeling miserable, especially people who feel guilty every time they say no to spending. When should you use it? Every time you're tempted to buy something unnecessary. Out loud if you can. Words matter more than you think. Let me give you an example. Your friends invite you out. Instead of saying, I'm broke, you say, I'm focusing on other priorities right now. Notice how different that feels. No shame, no stress, just clarity. Now, how does this change your behavior long term? Once you say not a priority, your brain naturally starts asking better questions. What is my priority? Saving? Investing? Freedom? Travel later? And why does this build financial literacy? Because money is just a tool to fund priorities. When you name them, your spending lines up automatically. No spreadsheets required. This habit also kills comparison. You stop spending just to keep up with others because you're clear on your own goals, something you'll see consistently in rich people habits and wealthy people habits. The truth is, wealthy people don't say, I can't afford it. They say, that's not aligned with what I want right now, which reflects the mindset behind many habits of wealthy people. Tiny language shift, zero cost. But over time, this habit builds confidence, control, and a healthier relationship with money. And that's real financial literacy. Number 4, check the price per use, not the price tag. Let me ask you something real quick. Why does something feel expensive the moment you see a big price tag? Because most people stop thinking right there. They never ask the smarter question. That smarter question is, how much does this cost me per use? A way of thinking you'll often find in quiet, rich habits. So what does price per use actually mean? It's simple. You take the price and divide it by how many times you'll realistically use it. Not how many times you hope to use it, but how many times you actually will use it. Why does this tiny habit matter so much? Because cheap things can be insanely expensive, and expensive things can be very cheap. Let me give you an example. You buy a $20 shirt you wear once. That's $20 per use. Now, compare that shirt to a $200 jacket you wear 200 times over a few years. That's $1 per use. Which one is the smarter financial decision? Of course, the $200 jacket. It's only $1 per use. Now, when should you use this habit? Anytime you're buying something you'll use repeatedly. Clothes, tools, tech, subscriptions, even furniture. This habit is useless for one-time experiences, but powerful for everyday items. Who benefits the most from thinking this way? People who want quality, without guilt. People who are tired of buying cheap things over and over again, something you'll notice in many wealthy habits. Here's another example. You're debating between cheap shoes and higher quality ones. The cheap pair hurts your feet and falls apart in 6 months. You buy them again and again. The more expensive pair lasts years. Suddenly, the expensive choice was actually cheaper. How does this build financial literacy? It trains your brain to think long-term. You stop reacting emotionally to price tags and start analyzing value. That's exactly how wealthy people think, and it shows up clearly in habits of millionaires. And why does this change your life over time? Because your money stops leaking through low-quality decisions. You buy less, but better. Less regret, less waste, more value. One tiny habit, one smarter decision. That's how people quietly upgrade their finances without earning more money. One of the most practical habits of rich people. Number 5. Talk about money like it's normal. Let me ask you something. Why is money one of the most awkward topics ever? People will talk about relationships, mental health, even personal drama, but money? Suddenly it's rude or taboo. And that silence is expensive. So here's the tiny habit. Talk about money like it's normal. Not bragging, not complaining. Just normal conversations, something deeply embedded in rich people habits. Now, what does that actually mean? It means asking simple questions. How much does that usually pay? How did you learn investing? What mistake would you avoid if you started over? These aren't rude questions. They're learning shortcuts. Who benefits from this habit the most? People who want to grow but feel stuck. Because when you don't talk about money, you only learn from your own mistakes, and that's slow. Why does this matter so much? Because most financial knowledge is social. Salaries, side hustles, investing strategies, business ideas. People learn these things from other people, not textbooks, which is why open discussion is common in wealthy people habits. When should you talk about money? Casually, naturally, with the right people. Friends who are building something, coworkers you trust, mentors who are ahead of you. For example, you ask a friend how they increase their income. They mention a skill, a certification, or a side project. That one conversation might change the direction of your career, but it only happens if you ask. How does this build financial literacy? You start hearing real numbers, real timelines, real struggles. Money stops being mysterious and starts being practical. And here's the biggest reason this habit changes your life. Silence keeps people repeating the same mistakes. Conversation breaks that cycle. Wealthy people talk about money all the time, strategies, deals, opportunities. Not emotionally, just openly, which is one of the clearest habits of wealthy people. So start small. One question, one conversation. Normalize money talk, and you normalize growth. That's how financial literacy spreads. Person to person, one honest conversation at a time. Number 6. Check your bank balance every morning in just 10 seconds. Let me ask you something first. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Check your phone, right? Messages, notifications, social media. Now, here's a better question. Why not check your money too? This habit sounds stupidly simple. Open your banking app. Look at the number. Close it. 10 seconds. That's it. No budgeting. No spreadsheets. No math. So, how can something this small change your life? Because most people avoid their bank balance. They're scared of it. They only check after spending, not before. And that's exactly why money feels stressful. When you don't look at your money, your brain fills the gap with assumptions. And assumptions make you spend carelessly. Now, think about when you check your balance. Morning is key. Your brain is fresh. No emotions yet. No impulse buys. When you see your balance first thing in the day, it quietly sets a spending limit in your head without you even trying. For example, you wake up, check your balance, and see you have $1,500. Later that day, you're about to order food delivery. Suddenly your brain goes, "Wait, I saw that number this morning." You might still order, but maybe you choose a cheaper option, or maybe you don't. That pause alone is financial literacy in action. Who does this habit work for? Everyone. Broke, middle class, high income. Rich people don't guess their money, they're aware of it. Awareness always comes before control, and this awareness is one of the most overlooked habits of rich people. And why does this matter long term? Because money management isn't about discipline, it's about visibility. When money is visible, your decisions improve naturally. No stress, no guilt, no overthinking. So the goal isn't to judge yourself. It's not to feel bad. It's just to check your bank balance. Just 10 seconds every morning. That's how people slowly stop being bad with money and start becoming financially literate without even realizing it, just like the habits of millionaires. Number 7. Rename your savings account. This one sounds almost too easy. Like, how can changing a name change your financial life? But this tiny habit is way more powerful than it looks, and it shows up often in wealthy habits. Let me start with what most people do. They have a savings account called savings, or worse, extra. So when they want to spend, their brain goes, it's just savings. No emotional friction, no hesitation. Now, here's the habit. Rename your savings account with a purpose. Instead of savings, call it Freedom Fund, Future Me, No More Stress, Quit My Job Fund, House Down Payment. Now let me ask you why this works. Because your brain doesn't react to numbers. It reacts to meaning. A nameless pile of money is easy to steal from. A purpose-driven account feels protected, something you'll notice in many wealthy people habits. So, how does this change your behavior? Every time you open your banking app, you see that name. And suddenly spending isn't just spending. It feels like you're taking money from your future self. For example, you want to buy something impulsive. You open your app. You see an account called Emergency Fund. Your brain goes, wait, do I really want to steal from future me in trouble? That tiny pause is financial literacy in action. Who should do this habit? Anyone who struggles to save, which is most people. You don't need more income. You don't need discipline. You need clarity. When should you do it? Right now. Literally takes 30 seconds. No money required. No apps. Just rename it. And here's the deeper reason this changes your life. Saving stops feeling like deprivation. It starts feeling like identity. You're not someone trying to save. You're someone protecting a goal, one of the most powerful rich people habits and habits of wealthy people. Small habit, zero effort. But over time, this is how people quietly build real financial discipline, without forcing it. Number 8, track only one number, your net worth. Let me be honest with you for a second. Why do so many people give up on managing money? Because it feels complicated. Budgets, categories, apps, spreadsheets. Those are all exhausting. Most people quit before they even start. So here's a simpler question. What if you only tracked one number? That number is your net worth. Now, what is net worth really? It's just everything you own minus everything you owe. Cash, savings, investments minus debt, loans, credit cards. That's it. No fancy math. Who is this habit for? Honestly, everyone, especially beginners. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be good with numbers. You just need honesty. Here's the magic part. Why does this work so well? Because net worth tells the truth. Your income can be high and your net worth can still be negative. Your expenses can look small, but if debt is growing, you're losing. Net worth shows whether your financial life is actually moving forward, and this clarity is one of the most underrated rich habits. Now, when should you track it? Not daily. That's overkill. Once a month is perfect. Same date, same time. Just 5 minutes. That's it. Let me give you one example. Say last month your net worth was minus $3,000. This month, it's minus $2,500. You're still in the negative. But guess what? You're winning. That progress feels motivating. Way more motivating than stressing about coffee money. And how does this tiny habit change your behavior? Without trying, you start asking better questions. Does this increase my net worth? Will this debt push the number down? You don't need discipline. The number guides you. Rich people love this number because it's simple and honest. No emotions, no excuses. Just direction, one of the core habits of millionaires. You don't need to track everything. Track the direction. When your net worth slowly goes up, your confidence goes up with it. That's how financial literacy actually sticks. Simple, clear, and impossible to ignore. Just like the best habits of rich people. If this video is beneficial, please share and comment. And if you like financial content, like and subscribe this channel. 100K.